Episode 12. Premium Life, $2.99 a month. As is my habit, each weekend I spend time on Saturday morning analyzing my finances. Most of it is the humdrum usual stuff. Is my shopping hitting budget? How about those pricey restaurant outings, a particular weakness of mine? More and more, I'm tracking subscriptions. You know, those things that used to be linked only to newspapers and magazines. But these days, everything seems to be subscriptionified. Streaming entertainment, cell phone service, groceries, heck, even cars. I saw a Volvo ad recently touting a low-cost monthly subscription for one of their newer models, complete with insurance and maintenance for around $800 a month. That's not the end of it, though. As the world becomes appified, more and more experiences are gated by subscriptions, dating, community building, even church. And there's a good reason for this subscriptionification of society. And for one thing, we tend to be focused on the near term. And some might say short-sighted. So hooking us with low-cost entry to a service or experience is attractive, especially if we think the value is worth the cost. This, of course, is made even more attractive by a common no-commitment policy. We've seen this everywhere. Join today, cancel anytime. I mean, sure beats paying hundreds of dollars to own something outright, doesn't it? Or does it? I have a theory about this movement to subscriptions. Bear with me on this. TLDR, I think it's having an inadvertently negative impact on our relationships, and really on humanity in some. That's a big assertion, so let me unpack that a little bit. I've heard a number of psychologists and relationships experts say that actually the opposite is true, that things like serial monogamy, serial dating, things which share some qualities with subscription culture like the cancel anytime non-committal mentality, is actually good for us. We don't have to settle. We can prioritize other things when we want to or need to. We don't have to attempt to make our relationships everything. But as I see it, it also gives us that easy out when we don't want to feel vulnerable. Or when we get tired, or when we get restless. We feel like we have this permission to move on, to avoid the hard things. Now, contrarily, long-term relationships benefit from a healthier emotional state, better mental health, stronger physical bonds. That's not me saying that, by the way. That's from a recent academic study in the Journal of Evolutionary Psychology. But listen, if both people in a relationship, or all people for those in polyamorous relationships, are in agreement about the nature of that relationship, then hey, you do you. I'm not issuing judgments here. I'm just wondering out loud if a permissive, non-committal culture is leaving us unable to deal with hard things in our relationships, in community. We begin to feel that either, one, when the hard stuff hits, it's unreasonable to ask someone to commit and hold tight if they're not really up for it, if they haven't subscribed. Or worse, two, we use them to support us as much and as long as we can until the subscription lapses and they disappear. I realize this is a cynical approach, a very dark POV, and it's extreme. But I offer it up to make a point. There are problems with how the increasingly pervasive subscription mindset of our society is affecting us. Now, it's just not just true in romantic relationships. The same can be said of friendships. I can't tell you how many times I have talked to someone on an app with the sole and expressed intention of meeting up to start a friendship, only to have them ghost me after a week, a month. In and out when it pleases us. That is what I see as the problem with subscriptions. Okay, 2 more points here, and then I'll let it go. The subscription mindset gives us the false impression that we only really need to take care of ourselves and that we actually have control when we want to have control. And that stems from our experience with subscriptions as consumers. In a business context, subscriptions seem like we, as the consumers, run the show. Right? We decide what to get, how much to get, and for how long. Now, we're not satisfied, we pull the plug. And sure, companies may whine, they may drag out the cancellation, but ultimately we decide where our money lands. The blurring of lines between business and humanity, however, which is exactly what the appification of services and experiences is doing, encourages us to think we control human relationships in the same way we control our consumer spending. Businesses don't have emotions. They're not social creatures in need of support. They suck in money to keep spinning. Humans, on the other hand, far more fussy and delicate. We need love. We need compassion. We need mercy. Sometimes we need a strong hand and a firm voice. Other times we need soothing company and encouragement. We're nuanced. Our lives go up and down, changing the nature and intensity of our needs. And whether we like it or not, we need to meet those needs to keep going. And a subscription relationship controlled by outsiders doesn't really bear that in mind. And what's more, for individuals, subscription mindset is a consumer mindset. It's a take when we want to take mindset. But relationships are built on mutuality. Sometimes you give, sometimes you take, sometimes you give and take in the same breath. But we love convenience. We love control, at least the impression of control. So we subscribe and cancel, and subscribe and cancel, often at a whim. Meanwhile, Americans are getting lonelier. The Surgeon General called it a public health crisis last year, with nearly 1 in 3 Americans saying they feel loneliness at least once a week. And of those, half treat it with distractions like TV or social media. More subscriptions. Just keeping the cycle going. Okay, so if you buy this premise, how do we address it? I think we start with the basics. We start by auditing our subscriptions, and I say that in quotes. We think about our behaviors. In what ways do we live with a subscription mindset? Which relationships, friendships, romantic partners, family are impacted or driven by this mindset? And what are the consequences? Here's an example I surface shamefacedly. I have plenty of old friends that I loved dearly. But unfortunately, I treated them like they came with a month-to-month subscription policy. Engaged when I wanted, disengaged when I was busy or uninterested. The result? Lost friendships. No more relationship. So I think, as with so many things, the first step is awareness. It's knowing in the moment how addicted we are to our subscriptions, the impact that is having. Then it's deciding consciously to make change incrementally. Carve out new time with a loved one. Think and plan more long-term with others central to that planning. And look, I recognize that that's hard. With the busyness of our lives and the dour state of the world, it's hard to think much past tomorrow. But I firmly believe that we should try. There will be no future, no humanity, no us, if we don't cherish it. And we won't cherish it if all we care about is the next thing to consume today, here, right now.